Here to Facebook, go live too. 2, 1. And hey, howdy, hey, I think we are live on Facebook and on YouTube. Okay. Hi, everybody. I tried doing this last night and everything happened. My internet got a little weird and my computer ran out of battery. It's plugged in this time. See, it's proof. Like you need to see the cable. But it's July 5th. This will be Book Report Friday instead of Book Report Monday. We're going to talk about Sunscreens and Biohazards by Elizabeth Plurgast. I don't know how to say that name. PhD. Sunscreens, Biohazards, Treat as Hazardous Waste. I borrowed this from my friend Ryan. I've had it a really long time. It's a good book. And so this will kind of be a bit of a book report, although I'm not going to go into all the details. This is really more about skincare as it relates to sunburns and ultraviolet damage and plants, because that's what we do here. And maybe I'll throw something in about zombies. I don't know. Do zombies get sunburn? There's a question. Let's make this interactive. I have this on two different things. I probably won't see comments. If I see them, I'll try to respond. But hey, I've also got an article about this that's going to come out on the Grow Network. I would guess pretty soon. I don't know for a fact, but I talked to my contact person, Marin. She's really nice, and she seemed excited to get it. So it's a good time of year. So a detailed article will probably be coming out on the Grow Network pretty soon. Okay, so sunburns and such. Usually we're talking about UVA and UVB light. There are different flavors of sunlight. There's also a UVC, but it gets stopped in the upper atmosphere. And UVB light has a higher frequency. UVA light has a lower frequency, and that causes them to behave differently when they interact with our skin. UVB light, being higher frequency, tends to absorb into the very top layer of skin, and it releases its energy all right there. UVB light, with its slower frequency, tends to penetrate deeper into the skin and release its energy, further down. Oh, sorry, I'm kind of sniffly today because I had an awful lot of freedom yesterday. Yesterday being the 4th of July. If you're a non-American viewer, 4th of July is our Independence Day, so it's a big, celebration here. Fireworks, lots of food. Oh my goodness, pro-inflammatory food. I usually don't get sick from being around sick people. I usually get sick because I've stayed up too late, too many nights in a row, because that is the American way, and and because I eat too much pro-inflammatory food, which also is the American way. So I was being very American the last few days as we were getting ready to celebrate. So I've got, sniffling nose and scratchy throat. So I apologize if I'm sneezing and sniffling through this. Okay, so the UVB light is what people have traditionally been more concerned with when it comes to skin damage, because it being the higher frequency one that interacts with the top layer of skin where you see it, it's the one that tends to produce a sunburn, at least much more quickly than UVA light will. And the first sunscreens that were developed were designed to block UVB light to prevent sunburn. They were sunburn preventatives. They don't really block UVA light, or if they do, it's just incidentally. And the SPF number only applies to its UVB blocking power. It doesn't apply to UVA. But they both cause skin damage. Now, which one is more dangerous depends on who you ask. UVB, definitely, all other things being equal, UVB is more damaging, but it's also only 5% of the ultraviolet light. UVA is like 95% of the ultraviolet light that we encounter. So it's difficult to say. And the way that most commercial sunscreens work, you slather them on and they're blocking the UVB light, and they can have a very high SPF number, SPF 50. And the higher that number is, the more safe you feel out in the sunlight. And so you tend to stay out longer in the sun, feeling like you're protected. But all that time, the UVA light is penetrating through, and it can cause the aging appearance of the skin. And it can contribute to skin cancers as well. A and B both contribute to skin cancers. And so, ironically, wearing more sunscreen at a higher SPF can actually increase your chance of skin cancer, because it encourages you to get more total ultraviolet exposure through the UVA spectrum, or the UVA wavelength. Also, your body produces vitamin D when mainly when UVB sunlight interacts with your skin. And vitamin D is incredibly important for the development and growth of your body, the correct functioning of it, and it also suppresses or it prevents and can help to your body to fight off cancers. It's an anti-cancer. It's a hormone, really. And when you wear sunscreen, the kind that blocks UVB, which is what most all of them do, that's what they all specialize in. It really, really quickly, even at a low SPF, it just kind of shuts down your ability to produce vitamin D. So you're getting more total ultraviolet exposure because you're encouraged to stay out longer, even though you feel like you're protected because there's no sunburn, and you shut down your ability to create vitamin D, which would discourage the cancer growth. And the chemicals in the sunscreen are endocrine disruptors. A lot of them are. So they affect your hormone production. So that affects the correct development of your body. This is worse for kids because kids have thinner skin. It's more permeable to the sunscreen chemicals. So they absorb more readily into kids' skin, and they have more surface area relative to their body mass. It's Cube's law. It's a math thing that the larger we grow, our area, our body mass is growing more faster than our surface area. It's just a math thing. So kids have proportionally more surface area relative to body mass. So when you slather them up with sunscreen, they're getting a proportionally larger amount of the chemicals for their body size, and it's absorbing into their skin at a greater rate than it would for us. So they're getting like a bigger dose of it, and they're the ones that really need to grow healthy bodies. They need all their hormones to work correctly to correctly grow their bodies. So it's no good. It's no good. There are broad spectrum sunscreens that try to block UVA and B, but the SPF, remember, they'll have SPF, 50 or 45 on there real big, and it makes you think that they're really protecting you. But that number only applies to UVB. That doesn't apply to UVA. There is a UVA PF or UVA protection factor. A lot of the sunscreens, they may not list it or are not listed prominently. And a lot of times it's much lower than the SPF number. So you think it says broad spectrum and you think that you're really being protected, and you're not. And you're also absorbing these chemicals. And I tried doing this live stream last night, and it got, so some of this is repeat information. Sorry, but a lot of time. What was I about to say? I'm such a professional live streamer. Man, I'm pro. Gosh, well, maybe it'll come to me. So that's the chemical strategy of blocking sunscreen. Blocking sunlight. Sorry, my wife is asleep downstairs, and I'm really hoping that the kids keep it together long enough to do this live stream. I'm hearing noises. There's a physical strategy too. Titanium dioxide and zinc, not dioxide, titanium oxide. Maybe it is dioxide, and then zinc oxide. Something very similar to that. Those are physical barriers. They use little metal particles in a sunscreen, and they scatter and reflect the ultraviolet light coming in. And they're good at blocking UVA and B. It's a physical barrier. It's a good strategy. Plus, those metal particles are much less likely to cause allergic reactions than the chemical barriers. Just they're more they're less reactive with us. They can just sit on top. And that was the first metal-based, the first physical barrier type sunblocks were good at blocking UVA and B. That's what I was going to say before, is we have a history of approving a chemical as safe, and then 10 years later, we discover that it actually caused problems with growth and development or brain damage or cancer or something horrible. And then so they modify the chemical or get a new one, and they say, this one's safe, guys, it's safe. And then 10 years later, you've got problems again. Well, the zinc oxide, the titanium oxide, those actually worked, and they actually were pretty safe. But the problem was they left a white residue. When you put them on, you look kind of goofy. You look like a nerd. And we've decided we're just not going to have that. So the way around that, they made nanoparticles, or they might call it micronized. They're tiny, tiny little particles. And having it so tiny makes it easier for visible light to pass through. So it makes the sunscreen look more clear. Yay. However, it also allows the ultraviolet light to pass through easier too, so it makes it less protective. And when you get the particles that amazingly tiny, they start to be able to absorb through your skin too. Now, the zinc and the titanium on your skin, it's not a problem. It's just sitting on top of it. But when it starts to absorb into your skin and it gets into the skin cells, then it can cause problems. And I can't quote the exact problems that it caused. It's been a while since I've read that section of the book, but it can cause I know it can cause cellular damage. It can contribute to more problems. But see, you need to read the books. Um, and I remember that it can cross the blood-brain barrier. They did. There was a study with, I believe, with pigs and with rats, because you can't do that kind of test with a human. You can't just put sunscreen on them and then like biopsy their brain. That's frowned upon. So they did animal tests and they like apply it to their ears, and then so many hours later, they kill the animal and they biopsy it and they find the nanoparticles in their brain. I don't want that. I don't want little metal particles in my brain. The book also is gonna talk about infrared light, and it's gonna talk about the danger to the corals and the reefs out there, which it's titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. Look, it's on the back. Yeah, and I think those are real concerns. I'm not sure I'd have to look more into the infrared light. I mean, sure, it's like heat energy, so I guess it could be cooking you. It's and the corals, I think that's a real deal. Hawaii banned. I'm pretty sure Hawaii banned non-coral safe sunscreens because the chemicals, even in tiny particles, are just messing with the corals out there. Just from people wearing sunscreen and going swimming in the ocean. And you would think that it would just dilute so much in the ocean that it wouldn't make a big deal, but apparently it is a big deal. Okay, so what are you going to do if you can't use the nano titanium or zinc based sunscreens, which are mostly what you're going to find, and you don't want to use the chemical based ones? What are you going to do? Well, you're going to make your own. You can get on Amazon or probably other stores, and you can get zinc oxide powder. Make sure that it's non-nano. First, actually, if you just need a little bit of protection, you're just going to get a little extra sun. You can just use coconut oil, or you can use olive oil and just put that on your skin. I think coconut oil is a lot lighter feeling, but it's SPF around 8. But those are also better at blocking UVB than UVA. So, you might think, hey, it's not a really high number like the ones you buy at the store, and it doesn't feel as impressive. But remember that you don't actually want it to be super high SPF if it's not also going to block the UVA rays, because it would just give you a false sense of security, and it would encourage you to stay out longer and actually get more unseen damage in your skin. So a lower SPF 8, that it will give you the confidence to stay out just a little bit longer if you just need to stay out, right? And it will protect you from some of the damage, but it won't encourage you to stay out an unsafe amount of time and get too much UVA. But if you need to stay outside, you're going to have to be in the sun, and covering up is not going to do it. You're going to go ahead and make your own. Start with coconut oil or olive oil, and you're going to add in that zinc oxide or titanium dioxide powder. Make sure that you buy non-nano particles, and a lot of them will be listed as such. The recipe is about 5 to 35% by weight of the metal powder to oil. So if you had 1 ounce of coconut oil, you would want 0.05 to 0.35 ounces of your metal powder. You're going to wear goggles, and you're going to wear a mask because you don't want to breathe that or get it into your mucous membranes. Once it's in the oil, it's perfectly safe, but while it's in the powder form, it can go into the air really easily, and then it can get you. So you want to warm up your coconut oil enough just to make it a liquid. Probably put that in some disposable container because you don't want titanium dust in your cooking utensils. And weigh it out, just stir it in. Once it's incorporated, it's fine. You can take your mask and your glasses off, and it'll work just like it is. You can leave it just like that, or you can add in extra stuff, shea butter, the vitamin E. You can infuse your oil ahead of time with like St. John's wort. That's a really good one. It I believe, I think St. John's wort itself has some sun protective properties, some UV blocking properties, but it also has healing properties for your skin. So if you get too much sun, it helps you correctly repair it, rather than incorrectly, and encouraging the cancer. Um, what else? What other plants? I'm kind of blanking out here. Um, Gosh, I know tea. Tea has some UV absorbing properties. You can use it topically. Um, um, you can use essential oils, carrot seed oil, um, lavender. I believe, I know lavender is soothing. I think it has some UV protecting too. Um, I want to say eucalyptus. I think eucalyptus does. I don't know for a fact that clove does, but I'm really suspect that clove has some protective properties too. Its ORAC score, we're going to talk about in a little bit. Its ORAC scores ridiculously high, so it probably does. And just tea tree oil. Anyway, there's some good extras that you can add in, and just apply. The more powder you put in, obviously, the higher your SPF and UVA PF numbers will be. I don't have a good conversion. Like if you put in, 20% zinc oxide powder, it will be SPF. This. It's kind of more of an art than a science at this point, I guess. You just have to test it out a little bit and see how it works for you. So reapply frequently, especially if you sweat or go swimming, and use use your awareness to monitor how much sun you're getting and how your skin looks. Oh, okay. Also, if you do get too much sun exposure, you need to, you want to encourage that to heal correctly, to soothe it. I hear kid noises. Of course, the classic plan is aloe vera. You can slice the leaf long ways, use a spoon, and scrape it out, and gently put that stuff on. St. John's wort again is another really good one. Infuse it into the oil. You can do a faster infusion. Sometime I'll do a live stream or a video on instant herbal medicine, when you have to have something, right now. You don't have time to wait a couple of weeks for some oil to infuse. But you can put the herbs in an oil like an olive oil or a coconut oil. Those are both good after sun and before sun. They're very soothing and healing. But put them in the oil. Put it on the stovetop on low, so you don't want to cook them any more than you need to, and just let it go until the oil starts to take on the color of the plants, and the plants start to lose their color. Then it's infused. You can strain the plants out, let it cool, because you don't want to put all that hot stuff on sunburned skin. But then just gently put that on, and it will help to soothe the skin and to help it heal faster. I had too much freedom. I'm getting sniffly. Let's see. Susan Weed, she's a well-known herbalist. She wants to call St. John's wort St. John's wort. She's on a campaign to change the name. And I don't know that I'm 100% behind that, but there is a certain logic to what she's saying. I mean, Joan of Arc, was burned at the stake, and then St. John's wort or St. John's wort helps with burns. So there is a, logical train of thought there. Food for thought. And then both to help you recover and also to help make your skin itself more resistant to the damaging rays of the sun, you can eat your sunscreen. Not the sunscreen we were just making with the zinc powder. You don't want to eat that. But the foods that you choose to eat can help make your body more resistant to ultraviolet damage. Yeah. There's this thing called the ORAC score. It's what does it stand for? Oxygen reactive agent I don't remember what it stands for, but it has to do with the antioxidant capacity of certain foods, or the levels. The ORAC score itself is kind of in contention now. I think it's maybe a little oversimplified, but it's good stuff. The numbers are accurate. It's just that they were tested like in a test tube, not like in the human body. Just the way that it was tested. I think it still puts you in the ballpark. It puts you in the right direction. But by eating a wide variety of foods with a wide variety of antioxidants, you have a better ability to some of the antioxidants themselves will absorb the ultraviolet rays before they damage you. They'll grab onto them, and then when the rays do get into your skin and produce the free radicals, which cause the damage, it's ROSs, reactive oxygen species. I think is what they're called. They're the ones that damage the cells and the DNA and contribute to skin cancers. They will grab onto them and bind with them and hold them and keep them from doing damage. So you want a wide variety of high antioxidant food, like berries. Berries are real high on the ORAC scale. Spices are ridiculous. Most of the time, spices are crazy high. Dried spices are usually higher than fresh spices. Like dried rosemary is way higher than a fresh rosemary. They do it by weight, and that's really just going to be because the water contributes to a lot of the weight. So you get the water out, and it's a higher concentration. Clove is it's something like 29 million or something on the ORAC score. It's crazy, but eat a lot of those foods. Unsweetened cocoa powder is very high, and I've been as I've been out doing yard work and stuff in the summer. I've tried to get a big scoop of unsweetened cocoa powder and stir it up into milk, and it's not quite as good as regular chocolate milk, but you can get it down. It kind of gives you the idea. There was this study where people were taking high antioxidant cocoa powder, unsweetened cocoa powder, and what is it like after 6 days? I think it was after 6 days, skin redness was reduced by 50%, and then after 12 days it was reduced. Maybe it was weeks. I don't know if it was days or weeks, but after 12 units of time, it was reduced down to like 50%. So just by getting more cocoa, the people in this study like halved their vulnerability to ultraviolet light, to ultraviolet damage. Really pretty amazing. Coffee is another good one. It has a high score, and I have some coffee drinking friends, and I have noticed that they are more. I've asked a couple of them, and they're like, "Yeah, I guess I am pretty resistant to sunburns." They're more resistant to sunburn than my friends that don't drink any coffee. Uh, so fun, and it's life is complicated. Skin cancer is a complicated thing. Many factors go into it. Sunburn, there's a lot of things that go into it. Your genetic predisposition, your previous sun exposure, how much melanin you have, what clothes you're wearing, what time of day you go about. It's a complicated thing. So I don't want to oversimplify it. But those are some strategies that can help, as well as, just not getting outside if you don't need to, between 10 and 2. Those are the peak UV hours. Wear, long sleeves and a wide brimmed hat, try to cover up. My grandfather was a farmer for a good chunk of his life. He spent a lot of time outside, and they wore long sleeves and stuff. He had to have several moles removed. I remember when I was a young kid, I remember him getting several moles removed, and they were always on his nose and his ears. He might have had one or two on his head. It's the parts that were exposed to sunlight a lot. But where he had long sleeves on, I don't recall him ever having to have a mole removed from his body. I mean, I was a kid, maybe I didn't know, but just don't get exposed to sunlight. That probably wraps this up. I probably should check on my kids. Hey, fun fact. I don't know. It's fun for me. I don't know if it's fun for you. But sound and light kind of have similar-ish properties, the way that they work. Remember I said that the UVB light, it has a faster frequency, a faster wavelength, shorter wavelength than the UVA light. And that's why the UVA light can penetrate deeper. Sound kind of works the same way. Like high frequency sounds with a faster frequency, they shorter wavelength, they tend to bounce off of things, whereas lower frequency sounds, lower pitched sounds, tend to bend around or go through objects. That's the reason that if you're standing outside of a concert hall, for example, you hear all of the bass sounds, the boom, 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 boom. You hear that coming through the walls and the doors, and you don't hear as much of the high pitched sounds. It's more muted because of the frequency. That's the reason that when you put your speakers up for your home theater system, that the tweeters, the high pitched speakers, have to go in these specific locations so that you hear it coming from the right direction. But that subwoofer, it really could go just about anywhere in the room. It's not as directional as high pitched sound. It's the same reason animals like lions and elephants and wolves and mountain lions, when they make infrasound, when they want to communicate over long distances, miles across the plain, they'll use infrasound. It's sound that it's pitched so low that we can't hear it. We call it infrasound. And it carries much, much further. When it hits trees, it tends to bend around and go through the trees rather than reflecting off. so they can communicate over much larger distances. And that's why things like bats and dolphins and whales that use echolocation, they'll use ultrasound, or sound that's pitched very high, higher than we can hear, because it's a very directional, and it bounces off. It makes these nice crisp images in their mind as they hear the returning sound. That may not have been interesting to you. It's interesting to me. Hope everybody had a good Fourth. If you're in America, if you're somewhere else, well, I still hope you had a good 4th of July. It was just another day, I guess. My oldest son, he turned 10. We let him set off some fireworks last night. We let him do smoke bombs. We let him do the fountains, things like that. Just curious, how old were your kids before you let them set off fireworks? Is he older? Is he younger? We let his 8-year-old brother set off a little bit. We set off a couple of fireworks, all under direct, adult supervision, giving him tips about, hey, you want to run back or set that one a little further away. So what do you think? When did you let your kids start setting off fireworks? Just curious. I guess I'm going to wrap this up. My wife is probably awake. She's probably wondering where I am and what I'm doing. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Hey, if you like this live stream format, be sure and let me know, because editing videos takes up a long time. I will video things, and I'll have multiple videos set up in my computer and then not get around to editing them, because that's the part that takes forever. So I could get a lot more videos out if I live stream, and a lot faster, more content. But it is more rambly, because that's just my nature. That's who I am. So let me know if you like live streams, or if you're okay with waiting for more sporadic, better edited videos. And we'll get together again soon and do something else. Yeah, I definitely hear kid noise. Okay, happy foraging. Watch out for plants and zombies. I'll see you guys later. And there's that. Let's go over to YouTube now and into that one. Hey, YouTube. Bye, YouTube.